Narrowly passes a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package after a marathon session. The president hailing the bill.
It's going to make a big difference in so many lives in this country.
When will Americans get relief, and how much can they expect? New superspreader concerns pack bars and beaches in Florida spring break destinations, even after officials asked people to stay home. Hundreds of thousands of bikers taking part in Daytona's Bike Week as states continue to relax restrictions. Plus, we'll take you inside one state's massive operation to get shots in arms as supply increases. Stripped of powers, state lawmakers vote to remove embattled New York Governor Cuomo's pandemic powers in the wake of his growing scandals, but he still has to sign the bill. Will he? Controversial classics, why some of Hollywood's most iconic films are under review tonight for potentially offensive content.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. The Senate this afternoon passed a massive, nearly $2 trillion pandemic aid plan, a bill that would include that $1,400 check. It passed without one Republican vote in an all-night marathon that President Biden considers a victory for his administration. But now, new fears of a spring break surge, with more states opening up.
This is the same shit that happened in the Trump administration as well. For those of you who think that this is nothing more than the same stupid shit repeating itself as last year. They blame Trump for opening everything. Biden is doing the same thing. What else? Trump passed the last stimulus check without the Democrats. Let's see what else. Before the Democrats had the House, now the Republican had the House. So it's always going to be reversed. It's always going to be the same tactics. You are always going to be the same pundits that fall for it every single time. Now, these Gentiles are out there. They're doing what they do. And it's crazy. It's just so crazy how the numbers will spike up. They need this in order to murder your ass. But some of y'all don't belong on this land no more anyway. So sayonara. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because every time you talk about these things, that, these Gentiles will inherit lies, from their forefounding fathers. They came here as invaders. They invaded the place. They've done everything. So now they are facing judgment. And this is what judgment looks like. You're waiting to be raptured. But let me tell you something, beloveds. I cannot stress this enough. So let's continue to decode, if you will.
Convinced the virus is under control. It comes as millions more get vaccines each day. But are there enough to go around? We've got the COVID crisis covered from every angle tonight. And
every last crisis actor, actress. This is the convictors of your soul. Every last CIA, media, demonic entity. These are the people that are here unwarranted. They are invaders. They are the CIA. They are the people that the 1% train as monarchs, as paperclips, as MK control. See, what you need to realize is that when the Britons got here, it took them 30 years to colonize half. Then the German Nazis came and they began to go into war with them. They settled and had promised them a lot of things, even Palestine right now. So what you're watching is just over the times and the years, they have been just taking over the whole earth. And they didn't care who they had to destroy to get it. And they still don't care how they have to destroy your asses in real time to get it. This is a never-ending Bible jumping off the page story. Now, it's funny, but it ain't funny. So I am going to let them play out your demise. I want you to watch your enemy plot your demise and ritual your souls and be the convictor of your souls, because they know very well the deal that they had made with the oneness. It was meant to gain all the riches and everything, and to also take you sinners out for being deceived. So let's get into this.
Begin with Kelly O'Donnell at the White House.
45 days ago.
Tonight, President Biden says relief is coming soon.
This plan will get checks out the door starting this month.
The COVID Lifeline includes $1,400 payments to most adults and children based on income, up to $75,000, and $150,000 for families.
It will help out a lot. Can pay some bills.
It goes a long way, just like providing food and rent.
Today, the White House released video of President Biden telling a Michigan single mother of 4 how much she can expect.
Should get you a direct check for $7,000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. But they'll never tell you how this is your land, how they invaded, how they got you in captivity, how they do whatever they want to do with your natural resources right here on the continent of America, which America only means copper, color, people. They claim to be an American, but they don't fit that pic. So they stole an identity. They stole this identity and claimed your riches and claimed, see, for the children of Israel are rich and they know not, for they are in captivity in their own land. For even Martin Luther King said it, for even Malcolm X, for all these wonderful players that came in. Even the latest one is Grandmaster Jay. Now, I have to say, I think that this is the one. I really do. I think that this is the final layer of the Twilight Zone, if you will, of the spiral, if you will. And they have a problem with people going to, down the rabbit hole and never coming back up ever since they went down the Q rabbit hole. Now, the Q rabbit hole is good because it exposes all white people. It exposes everything. Now, let me tell you what happened to me when I began realizing what this Q movement was all about. This Q movement was all about saying that God wins in the end. Obviously, God has a chosen people that will win with the Most High, and the Most High will have and make sure that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Lord is Lord. So whoever you are calling your God right now, you will shake. Your heart will, I'm telling you, men's hearts will pump, like men's hearts will fail them from fear. That's how scared they're going to be when this earth begins to tremble any second now. This is just the beginning, what a great way of dying in these hospitals alone. And look at Cuomo. Let's talk about Cuomo, because I hate him. I hate him more than anything. And I want y'all to know that I wanted him to go down. I wanted him to be stripped of his power because he was abusing it. And he is a communist. This is a communist. This is a real communist at his best. But who better yet created communists? You guys really need to go back and do your research. So before I even go into something, I would like to play something else so we have a better understanding of what's taking place right now on the face of the earth in a higher realm, in a higher dimension, in a higher form that you probably won't never be able to understand. So, okay, so let's listen to this one right here.
Earth, interaction of time and space with beings of higher dimensions. Hello, my dear beloved children. Today we will talk about the interaction of the energies of time and space with beings living in the worlds of high dimensions. As you already understood from the previous messages, this interaction is manifested in the fact that both time and space are a reflection of the consciousness of the inhabitants of these dimensions. The higher the vibrations of this or that being, the more it manifests itself. And that's why, if a person living in a three-dimensional world is tied by his consciousness to certain linear patterns of concepts, such as time and space, which he considers unshakable, then the consciousness of a being from a higher dimension perceives them in a completely different way. For him, both time and space are mobile substances that can change under the influence of his thoughts and intentions. He can, if necessary, give them the desired parameters, which means energetically merge with them. You can ask me what parameters I am talking about, if in the worlds of high dimensions time does not exist as such. In fact, my dears, it exists because it is a certain type of energy. Just the relationship with this energy in high dimensions is completely different. The beings living there vibrate at the same frequency with the energy of time and space, at the frequency of the energy of love. What happens then? These energies merge together, but at the same time they retain their individual characteristics, which allow them to create something new. Someone interacting with these energies deliberately stretches time and space, while someone, on the contrary, compresses them as much as possible in order to instantly move to the desired place of their planet, galaxy, or even the universe. This is how the interaction or fusion of the consciousness of the inhabitant of the high vibration world and the energies of time and space takes place. All this happens very quickly and naturally, but in order for you to better understand this mechanism, let's look at an example. Suppose that a person who is in the space of the fifth dimension, for one reason or another, has lowered his vibrations, but the vibrations of the energies of time and space in this dimension remain unchanged. And if such a person expresses his intention to move to another part of the galaxy, for example, to a planet of the sixth dimension, he will not succeed. And this will happen because the consciousness of the energies of time and space will not allow him to do this. That is, they will not enter into interaction with him. And this will happen not only because they are at different frequencies, but also because the consciousness of these energies will reflect the state of the one who is trying to control them. They will see the discrepancy between the desires of this person and his current capabilities. In other words, we can say that any living being interacts with the energies of time and space not only at the level of vibrations, but also at the level of consciousness, characteristics of new spatio-temporal parameters. At the end of our conversation about new spatio-temporal parameters, which are gradually coming into their own, I would like to remind you today of their most significant characteristics. First, space and time are slowly but surely losing the linearity inherent in the world of the third dimension. Second, inseparably connected with each other they are in constant interaction. Third, getting into the energy field of a person, they adjust to it while changing the frequency of their vibrations. Fourth, the energies of space and time are a reflection of the consciousness of a person who is able to influence them by the force of his intention. Fifth, being flexible and mobile substances, space and time are able to change depending on the level of human vibrations, quickly moving from one dimension to another. Sixth, the energies of space and time have their own consciousness, which reads the mental impulses of a person and reacts sensitively to them. And seventh, flowing from one state to another, these energies nevertheless retain their original essence, remaining an all-embracing infinity. Now that you are all privy to the subtleties of your interaction with the energies of space and time, you'll be able to treat them as your constant companions and faithful assistants. But they will become such only if you learn to tune in with them on the same wavelength. And what frequency this wave will be depends on you, on the level of your vibrations. Thus, a person can lower and increase the vibrations of space and time, depending on his state of mind. Staying in harmony and doing what you love, you contribute to the fact that the energies of space and time around you gently flow from the third to the fourth and even the fifth dimensions. This is how your interaction takes place. With your high vibrations, you help them transform into their higher hypostasis. And they help you, providing a state of flight and timelessness, which corresponds to the vibrations of the fifth dimension. Finally, I would like to give you one piece of advice. You should show unchanging respect, love, and gratitude to these eternal companions of all living beings in the universe, and during energy practices for managing time and space. Treat them as equals, without feeling superiority and pride from the fact that you control them. Always remember that these smart energies are capable of reading all the nuances of your mood and therefore reflecting them on the physical plane. So instead of the desired result, you can get the opposite effect, and this will not be a revenge of the energies of time and space, but only a reflection of your own energies. I bless you, my dear ones, for a harmonious union with the divine energies of time and space, which occupy
That would be wonderfully appreciated.
This follows a 25-hour Senate marathon, a sleepless, round-the-clock push that ended with a burst of applause. Senators voted on more than 36 changes to the $1.9 trillion COVID package, including a compromise to extend federal unemployment benefits at $300 a week through September 6th. Recipients would not pay taxes on the first $10,200 of aid.
The people are hurting, and today we respond.
Every Democrat in favor.
Unity, unity, unity.
Every Republican voted no, blaming the steep cost with billions unrelated to the pandemic.
That's stuffed with non-COVID related spending.
President Biden says he is a giant step closer to delivering his top priority, to supply vaccines, help schools, businesses, and state governments. He claims this legislative victory sends a message to Republicans and the country.
I'm going to succeed. We're going to succeed moving forward.
And Kelly joins us now. Kelly, what steps are left to turn this package into law?
It's almost done, Jose. Tuesday, the House will vote on the finalized version that came through the Senate today. Then it goes to the president's desk for his signature. And that could line up midweek with the one-year anniversary of COVID being named a national emergency. Jose?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House, thank you. There are new concerns tonight about the start of spring break and another surge in COVID cases, especially as more states do away with mask mandates. Morgan Chesky has details.
Tonight, as vaccination numbers go up, a steady push for states to reopen, causing issues nationwide. In Florida, spring break already in full effect, with thousands descending on beaches and piling into pool parties. And hundreds of thousands headed to Daytona Beach for Bike Week, many without masks.
Well, we definitely received substantial evidence that he was involved in trafficking young women and children to the Virgin Islands for a very long period of time through our airport, through his private jet. And then he would, by helicopter or sometimes boat, would then transport them over to Little St. James. And that's where he has his complex where he lives, which is his official residence as well. And that these young girls and women were subject to sexual assault, sexual exploitation, through coercion, false imprisonment, where the passports at some points were taken away. The actions were just reprehensible. And it was quite a number of women, and we found through our investigation that at least up to 2018 that continued.
So what your investigation is showing is the broad scope of Jeffrey Epstein's nefarious activities, that it just kept going.
Based on the evidence that we found thus far. Let me make something very clear. Jeffrey Epstein was very good at protecting himself and being secret. The secrecy he was very good at that. And because of his wealth, his power, he was able to do that and secure that. So when you think about it, he owns a private island. That's an island over a mile away from St. Thomas, the main island. And it's out there and it's isolated. He purchases that, right? Then he owns the jet that flew in to the airport. It's under a name of one of the front companies that actually has been named in our complaint, but it's him. He's the member of that LLC. And he owns the helicopter and the boats that took or transported him and the women and children over to the island. So when you think about that, it's him orchestrating all of that. Yes, there may have been baggage handlers. There may have been other persons who looked and saw him and other females with young girls. Yes, but I think that it's important that we focus on how Jeffrey Epstein was so able to create such an elaborate scheme, especially by doing it in such secrecy, and he had the money and power to create the secrecy so that not just local authorities, but we have federal authorities here too that are here all along. Not even they might have been able to see it. In looking at that, you have to really get a good understanding of how he was able to protect and isolate himself. Once you get on that island, how do you get off? It's not like a person who's on the island can just say, okay, I'm going to swim to St. Thomas. They can't do that. It's not like a person who's there and needs help that they can sneak away and run outside and flag down a vehicle or flag down a police car or run to the nearest police station like they might be able to do on St. Thomas, on the main island. The island is isolated. So that kind of isolation is really what you have to look at when you start to think, how could this have happened for so long?
I think the picture you paint is a terrifying one of isolation, but also abuse of power. And I just wonder why the people who worked for Jeffrey Epstein weren't terrified for the girls going over there. They knew how isolated that island was. They knew the ages of those girls. They saw powerful men there. Why weren't they terrified? Why didn't they become whistleblowers?
Well, one thing I do know, first of all, is that there are the non-disclosure agreements that Jeffrey Epstein had all of the employees, if not most of them, sign. Then they had to agree not to disclose any information to law enforcement or anyone else regarding what goes on that island. And even after Jeffrey Epstein's death, those non-disclosure agreements are still in place and still enforced by the estate. So this was just one of the ways that you can pretty much intimidate or silence people. But in addition to that, when you see someone connected with powerful people who may visit the island or he may be involved with, whether it doesn't have to be here, it could be anywhere in the world, and it's known that these powerful people are his friends and associates. That alone is intimidating to the ordinary citizen who's sitting there and watching this and say, ooh, that does not look good. But could you imagine the reluctance of that person to say, I'm going to come forward, I'm going to tell on that person who's friends with all these powerful people? So that alone, the way that he surrounded himself with these powerful people, that was an example of the kind of intimidation that would cause what you're saying, people to be silent about what they may see or suspect. As far as the Virgin Islands is concerned, we need to make sure that the Virgin Islands is not perceived as a haven for this kind of sexual exploitation, human trafficking, and sexual and child abuse. We have to make that clear. It is very important that we enforce our laws against human trafficking, against child abuse, against child and sexual exploitation of women. It is important that we do that, because if I don't do it as the Attorney General, the top law enforcement person, if we do not do it in the Virgin Islands, then those types of crimes will continue to flourish.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching.
The state, one of 17 recently canceling mask mandates, are not having any to begin with.
We still need to emphasize for people who are not vaccinated that masks matter. So taking away mask mandates, or even not having them in the first place, doesn't make sense from a health perspective.
At Trinity Cider in Dallas, owner Evan Karlstadt says despite the governor's order to drop the mandate and allow 100% capacity, his mask-required signs are staying up.
Does the benefit to business outweigh potential concerns?
It's hard to tell. From what I've read, the Dallas hospitals aren't currently overwhelmed, but in general, it lets people take their lives in their own hands a little bit. We just want to keep them safe if they come into our restaurant.
A growing concern as states reopen, COVID variants. One analysis finding the UK version alone now responsible for more than 20% of the cases in the United States.
The masking, the physical distancing, and the avoiding of congregate settings. We do those two things. That's the best weapon against these variants.
And tonight, on the eve of the NBA All-Star Game, the Atlanta mayor stressing the same advice, urging fans to stay home and steer clear of the parties that could lead to yet another COVID surge.
And Morgan joins us from Dallas. Morgan, with the mask mandate in Texas ending on Wednesday, how much control do individual business owners have?
Yeah, Jose, they certainly do have options. In fact, the Houston police chief reiterated the fact that if you violate a clearly stated policy, you're setting yourself up for not only a police arrest, but also a charge of criminal trespass. Jose?
Morgan Chesky in Dallas, thank you. The race to vaccinate is on. As of today, more than 85 million doses have gone into arms. Cities are ramping up efforts, but there's still a long way to go. And tonight, Vaughn Hilliard has an inside look tracking a vaccine shipment as it makes its way into one of the hardest hit states and to the people who need it most.
with vaccine shipments slated to double over the course of this month. America's vaccine supply chain is facing its biggest test yet.
Where'd you come from? We came from Louisville, Kentucky.
Here in Phoenix, the latest arrival via UPS plane, 5:30 a.m.
You're bringing in something to help somebody.
The freight, vital to slowing the spread.
Arizona continues to be the worst in the world per capita when it comes to our infection rate.
As the state battles its way to recovery after more than 16,000 COVID deaths.
This is your truck. This is my truck. We're going to be following you with vaccine shipments.
7 a.m. from the plane into the care of UPS trucker Jeremy Giles.
Do you know when you have vaccine shipments on your
Absolutely, yes.
This label, a GPS device tracking the precious cargo to one of the city's mass vaccination sites. Inside, the Pfizer vaccines.
I get to deliver this stuff that's going to save lives.
The final stop, 8 a.m., Phoenix Municipal Stadium.
This is Pfizer.
Where Walmart pharmacist Matt Stubbs starts counting.
15 trays times 195 vials times 6 doses gives you about 17,550 doses.
That's how many folks are going to benefit from these 3 boxes.
Yes.
He checks the sub-zero temperatures required to keep doses fresh.
The thermometer on the inside, you'll see, tracks it the whole way, so never breaks the cold chain, as they call it.
And his team also preps syringes for the thousands waiting in line.
Thanks for your help.
Arizona's Governor Doug Ducey says the state has the manpower to get back on track, just not enough vaccine.
What we're telling the administration is we need more supply. You double our supply, we'll double our output.
This is the war room.
The output monitored by Arizona's.
This is the war room. They preying on your ass. They finna kill y'all motherfuckers. And some of y'all gonna go because you're stupid. Lack of knowledge. Perish. Perish because your lack of knowledge.
Top doctor, Kara Christ.
We've got a dashboard that updates us so that we know what the average wait time is, how many vaccines we've been doing.
A vaccine's journey and the promise of a healthier future for couples like Linda and Curtis Ward.
We've had 7 kids we've raised and 11 grandchildren, and I want to stay around and have time with them and enjoy them.
That's right. Many of the disadvantaged, heavily Latino neighborhoods here hit hardest by COVID also have.
You coming for that? Yeah. They call us Latino, but they really talking about the black people, the hidden ones that are so-called Latin. Yeah, they talking about black people, and you know, all them Spanish and them Spaniards and them Yiddish are dying, cause they the motherfucking hoe ass enslavers. They gonna perish. They gonna reap what they sow. They on their way the fucking way out. They on their motherfucking way out. And I gotta tell you this. I love being wise in all of this. You know what I'm saying? Watching it all just play out. It's amazing. Amazing how many people in the know. It's amazing how many people don't know. It's amazing how people are confused. It is amazing to see the levels of the minds in such a time. It's so many of them. I'm talking about the MK control is so deep. It is so fucked up. They are murderers in broad daylight. They are conspiring. They are premeditating thousands and 17,000 deaths, and however they can quote it, sugarcoat it, slice and dice it to your own liking. I don't know who's in this area, but one of these motherfuckers got your name on it. And the saddest part is you will take yourself, because you're not in control of your destiny. That is the scariest thing I've ever encountered in my life, in this spiritual warfare, if you will. And reason why I say that is because, you know, there are different identities, there are different demises, there are different entities and portals going on right now. So yeah, let's talk about this, you know. What is this?
Chula Vista firefighter Jacob Gregoire calls for his supervisor. Only CBS News 8 has this heated exchange between the veteran firefighter and an unnamed CHP officer about the safety of where the fire truck is parked during a rollover accident.
It's unbelievable you have to do this. It's unbelievable you guys have to treat us like this. We're on the road trying to help you. We asked you to clear the road and you said no and you'll get arrested and start moving it.
CHP has guidelines to safely clear the road, but you see, it's up for debate who was in the wrong legally. Firefighters say they park at an angle to protect emergency crews, patients, and drivers.
We're in the middle of patient care with patients on the freeway. They're putting them in handcuffs at this time and walking them away.
We spoke to the union president for Chula Vista Fire, who says Gregoire did the right thing to protect the public.
I'm very proud of Jake. He made all firefighters look good in that situation because he was there to protect the citizens and he was willing to take a stand to do that.
And they didn't want him to. Can you imagine that shit? Huh? What happened there? Why would they do such a thing? So we gotta stop playing with these fuckers. Okay? Please. Spare yourself the bullshit and your children the heartache. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't want to overwhelm you with too much. Hopefully this will register somewhere in there if there's any room in your brain.